The U.S. Army heads back to Iraq. The Navy's new warship may already be ready for the scrap heap, and NATO is gearing up for a fight with Russia. It's SkyWatch TV for Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, half the country woke up this morning feeling like it had just been gut punched. To be honest with you, as we record these early, we don't yet know what the results are as we sit down to record this, so we'll have more to say on this program on Thursday. Our goal here is not to be breaking news, but to provide analysis that you hopefully don't get anywhere else. Again, more on the outcome of the election, however it shakes out, on Thursday's report. No question that this was the most exciting, if not, well, and probably strangest election of my adult lifetime. CBS's Bob Schieffer, who has seen a few more of them than I have, concurs.
I have seen a few, but I've run out of ways to say I've never seen one like this. It is as if the nation is enduring some kind of curse. What should we expect next? That it will rain frogs?
Yes, dogs and cats living together. Let's pull back on the hyperbole just a little bit. Regardless of whether your favorite candidate was declared the winner, or if it's still tied up in the Supreme Court and waiting for a judicial ruling, just remember, God is still in control. And we as Christians are still members of His kingdom. So let's get about the King's business. In other news, the body of a missing 4-year-old girl was found in a village in rural India last week, decapitated and missing her arms, because a teen girl in the village lost her mobile phone. The girl's parents, the teen's parents, contracted with a local ghulam, or black witch priest, to perform a ritual to find the missing mobile phone. The ritual involved kidnapping, torturing, and sacrificing the 4-year-old. The parents have been arrested. The parents of the teen girl have been arrested. The witch has escaped, is being sought by police. The U.S. Army is heading back to Iraq. 1,700 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne being deployed as part of Operation Inherent Resolve. The Pentagon announced a few weeks ago that 500 soldiers from the Big Red 1, the 1st Infantry Division, based at Fort Riley, Kansas, also on their way back to Iraq. That part of the world hasn't been unified since the Tower of Babel. Now, Iraqis in the Mosul region worry that bloodshed will continue even after the Islamic State is defeated. As we've been telling you, there are sectarian problems there between Shias and Sunnis, Christians and Yazidis, that destroying ISIS won't fix. Not to mention ethnic divisions between Arabs, Kurds, Turkmen, and others. There appears to be no plan in place for the day after ISIS. Experts say that defeating the Islamic State could just expose these sectarian divisions, leading to another Sunni uprising down the road if things in Iraq don't change. And I'll just add, the presence of American soldiers won't fix it because it didn't fix it the first time. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter applauded a new offensive by U.S.-backed rebels in Syria. This offensive aimed at taking the Islamic State's capital city of Raqqa. But no clear strategy there for how that's going to happen. The U.S. and Turkey are still trying to hammer out details of who gets to do what. The Turks say this operation is a non-starter if Kurdish fighters are involved. And guess what? Most of the Syrian Defense Force attacking Raqqa is made up of Kurds. The U.S. Navy's brand new high-tech warship may already be obsolete. Now, maybe obsolete's not the right word, but there are issues that may not be overcome easily. The USS Zumwalt, named for former Admiral Elmo Zumwalt, is a stealth destroyer. Looks like a floating trapezoid. Very high-tech. It cost $3 billion, which is half again as much as the previous generation of United States Navy destroyers. Its big guns are designed to hit targets up to 72 miles away. Biggest guns put on a U.S. Navy ship since World War II. But the hull design, which is intended to minimize the wake of the destroyer, also makes it more prone to roll over, which is a bad thing. But worse, barely 2 weeks after the Zumwalt was commissioned, the Navy is moving to cancel production of the projectiles for these new high-tech guns. This is called the Long Range Land Attack Projectile, or LRAP. It's a guided precision munition but they cost $800,000 apiece. And one expert says that's actually a low number. That's the number that the Navy is trying to get the cost down to. You see, when the Navy cut the original plans to build 28 Zumwalt-class destroyers down to 7 and then down to 3, the economy of scale for making lots and lots of projectiles is lost. So, the high-tech destroyer of the future may soon have no ammunition for its big guns. Navy is trying to come up with a cheaper alternative. Coming up, seeding outer space with dead astronauts. And what's making noise at the bottom of the Arctic Sea? Straight ahead on SkyWatch TV. The technology that's changing the modern military is changing the very definition of what it means to be human. SkyWatch TV is proud to offer the important new book from Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, Future War: Super Soldiers, Terminators, Cyberspace, and the National Security Strategy for 21st Century Combat. Order Future War from the SkyWatch TV store, and you'll also get Never Submit by Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, the Blood on the Altar audio presentation, The Coming War Between Christian versus Christian, featuring Tom Horn and Steve Quayle. What You Don't Know Will Kill You: Genetics, GMOs, and the Plan to Eradicate Humankind, a special investigative report from Tom Horn and the SkyWatch TV team. And a 2-year subscription to the SkyWatch TV magazine. This is a value of more than $125, yours for just $24.95. Order now by calling toll-free 844-750-4985 or log on to skywatchtvstore.com. The United States faces a security threat that could kill 90% of us within a year. It's called the electromagnetic pulse. And you can hear Gary Haven, the writer-producer of the film Amerigeddon, talk about it on SkyWatch TV this week. That's our network program. You'll find a complete listing of dates and times at the website, skywatchtv.com, or just watch the crawl down here at the bottom of the screen. A security official at the Russian consulate in New York collapsed and died Tuesday. The 63-year-old man was at his office Tuesday morning when he fell to the floor. Russian spokesperson said it appeared to have been a medical problem, but police are investigating. Meanwhile, in Russia, an explosion in the northern port city of Murmansk left the city partly without power Tuesday. Eyewitnesses called it a huge blast at one of the city's electrical substations. Murmansk is in Russia's extreme northwest, 300,000 people. It's the world's largest city north of the Arctic Circle, home to Russia's entire fleet of nuclear-powered icebreakers. One of the themes of this presidential election has been the threat of Russian aggression, and whether this candidate or that candidate was Vladimir Putin's favorite. Certainly, Hillary Clinton and the neocons in the U.S. government, as well as their allies in the NATO countries, have been beating that drum. NATO currently scrambling to put together a force of 300,000 soldiers that it can put on high alert in response to what it perceives as Russian aggression. Most of the NATO countries cut military spending sharply after the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Over the weekend, Russian soldiers dressed in World War II-era uniforms commemorated a famous parade from 1941 when the Red Army marched out of Russia to confront Hitler's Nazi army. Russian officials do admit that they are working on a force of robots to fight his enemies. We told you about that last week. Deputy Prime Minister Dmitry Rogozin made that comment a couple weeks ago. But even he admits there is a danger here that the Terminator scenario, where an artificial intelligence decides that the real threat to peace on Earth is humans, he says it's a real concern. Rogozin is in charge of Russia's plans to modernize its army. In comments at a Russian university last week, he confirmed something that Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis told us during his recent interview on SkyWatch TV, that Russia's experience in Syria demonstrates that the future of war is robotic systems and drones. The question is whether there is a human in the decision-making loop or not. One of the projects Russia currently working on, a voice-controlled humanoid robot that could work inside or outside a piloted ship, sort of like R2-D2 in Star Wars, I guess. And speaking of outside the ship, some researchers say that we could actually create new forms of life in outer space by dumping the bodies of dead astronauts into outer space. This is not something they actually encourage or want to do, but they say that there is a danger that as we take on more missions in space, the threat grows, just statistically speaking, that an astronaut will die and that a rogue body that gets away from a spaceship could provide the spark of life on another planet. This, of course, could only happen if conditions are absolutely perfect. There's a lot of radiation in outer space, not much water in outer space. So you'd have to have absolutely perfect conditions. And oh yeah, if evolution actually worked that way, which it doesn't. Besides, who knows if the universe would actually tolerate us throwing our biological waste out into, around willy-nilly. Now, I know that God is actually in control here, so I'm being a little facetious. But reporters, about a week or so ago, reported that scientists believe the universe may have a self-destruct switch, self-destruct button that could just wipe out all life as we know it, and that we would never ever see it coming. The theory goes, and this is really into Josh Peck multiverse territory, a change in the energy level of the Higgs field, which gives particles mass, could start a chain reaction that would wipe out all matter and destroy life, destroy everything by fundamentally changing the laws of physics. Now, I think it's amazing that there are people who actually make a living sitting and thinking about stuff like this. But I repeat, as I said earlier, God is in control. And if something drastic were to happen to fundamentally change life as we know it, it's only because He's allowing it, and it's because it's part of His prophetic plan. We just see a lot of stories like this in the news because of the meme that we're supposed to believe that there is life elsewhere in outer space and that the Bible's just an old book of fables and legends not to be taken seriously. Finally, the Canadian military is investigating a mysterious noise from the bottom of the Arctic Sea. The sound has been described as a ping, a hum, and a beep. Nobody knows what's causing it, but apparently it has spooked the wildlife. Normally, in this area, whales, seals, and other marine mammals are pretty plentiful, but they appear to have been scared off by whatever's causing this noise. Possible sources of the mystery sound include military submarines, although the government of Canada says there have been no submarines from other nations present in this particular channel. Greenpeace, trying to scare away the wildlife to keep them from being hunted, but Greenpeace says it's not active in the area either. Or possibly a mining company conducting a survey, that part of the Arctic known to be pretty rich in minerals and petroleum. But the mining companies say, no, none of us are working there either. My personal theory is that the noise is actually coming from a long-shot third-party candidate trying to drum up last-minute support before the election, namely Cthulhu, the crawling chaos. I mean, for election after election, we American voters beat ourselves up trying to figure out which of the candidates is the lesser of two evils. So the greater evil decided to present himself as an alternate. Of course, I'm joking, but with this election, we could use a laugh or two. Again, more on the results tomorrow. Please find us online, skywatchtv.com. Links there to all of our social media outlets. You'll find me online at derekpgilbert.com. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.